Hello there all you folks out there in YouTube land. You know, some days, someone does something so stupid that I want to tear out my hair in frustration. Wednesday was one of those days. I have a few things to cover, so we might as well get stuck into it. Tuesday afternoon, across Puget Sound from here over in Port Orchard, Washington, a woman was killed by a person known to her in a cruel, vicious way, and her naked body left out for her children to find. The man then stole her car and ran to Portland, Oregon, where he managed to evade police by driving into oncoming traffic. Murder is murder, and that fucker will to be taken to task for it. He was eventually found and taken alive, and that's a good thing in my book. Death is far too clean a fate for someone like that. He did more than that. Oh, he blasted 4chan's board with a confession of his kill, and included photographs. This, of course, set off the Gawker machine, and a reporter from Jezebel went over the side in her reporting on less than a tenth of the facts. From there, things get really squirrely. Brianna Wu drops in with the following tweet. Police investigating 4chan link to murdered woman. Hey Murgot, tell me again how my life isn't in danger. She then links to the Jezebel article. Brianna, you're not in danger because this was very nearly a run-of-the-mill homicide that was brought to the attention of 4chan. The victim and the perpetrator knew one another, and while police stand mute on what their exact relationship was, her husband, sister, and children all know this individual personally. It's not like he went to threatened her, did the deed, and then bragged about it. No, he did just the latter too. Even if he had done the first, it would have had nothing whatsoever to do with you. Gamergate does not owe you an explanation, an apology, or anything else. If anything, you owe the family of the victim an apology for being an opportunistic bitch. I won't address the recent rumors of you acquiring your femininity relatively recently, nor the social justice warrior that's demanding that your entirely undeserved Wikipedia article stay right where it is, with the Gamergate language intact. None of that matters. What matters is that you're a horrible human being that's trying to acquire the veneer of relevancy by using Anita Sarkeesian's playbook. It's vile, reprehensible and inhuman. You want to be treated like a real human being. Then fucking stop it with your personal persecution narrative. You want people in jail for threatening you. But you pull shit like this that's nearly guaranteed to generate a negative response. That's what Anita does, and if the last 2 years have taught anyone anything, it's that a cycle of continued negativity dehumanizes you and makes you naught but a symbol. Because if that's what you're trying for, you're doing a fine job. Nothing else you ever do will be judged on its merits, just your status as a symbol of negativity. Anita will only ever be remembered for the abuse she said she received, in the same way that Eric Hovid will be remembered for his bullshit in Pensacola, advancing his father's creation narrative on the backs of flood victims. It's exactly the same thing. He caught a pile and a half of backlash for it, and so will you. Because this is me being calm and collected. You do not want to hear my initial thoughts on the matter. You probably don't want to hear my thought a few hours later, now that I've cooled off some. You go ahead and weave your narrative, Brianna, Zoe and Anita. Because you have nothing else. In the end, I think Zoe is a victim, although nowhere near in the way she thinks she is. Because, you see, Gawker Media and the press at large used you as grist for the news mill. By giving your narrative voice, they made a you symbol of the status quo, in which gamers are exactly as they painted us, fat, creepy, neck-bearded basement dwellers with nothing better than to harass fine, upstanding folks like you, out of an industry that's trying to change for their own good. Because if you look at it, gamers have always judged on merit alone. With the exception of a few of the more trollish types, we have them, and we can own that. People like that often wind up dealing with people like themselves through feedback processes during multiplayer games. If you have enough negative feedback, you wind up only getting to play with people that have the same sort of problems, and often they have to say what they are giving you feedback for. If it's that you're a newbie and aren't very good, you get held with the other newbies until you get better. If it's that you're being an idiot and giving people a hard time above and beyond the pale, then you're going to wind up in that sort of a group. At that point, the only way out is to improve your behavior. As for shit talk during matches, you're going to get some of that regardless of what tier you're in, as it's generally part of the banter common to this type of games, and it's always a laugh when you come back around from being insulted by a random idiot with a rejoinder so devastating that the other party shuts his or her hole for the remainder of the round. No different than any other similar competitive event. Men and women both engage in that sort of behavior before a sporting event, especially team events. They play, one loses, and then after a tiny bit of gloating, everyone shakes hands and revels in a hard-fought battle, win or lose. Gawker Media seeks to assist you feminists in destroying that sense of camaraderie, and complete their conquest of the games industry by a complete control over the narrative. They own most of the gaming press, and the bits they don't own are giving them the hairy eyeball and wondering if they are going to be the next targets once we the consumer are properly cowed and out of the way. The mainstream media is latched onto that like a pack of opportunistic leeches, boosting their ratings while the house burns down around them. Do I have any sympathy for Gawker as it sets the explosives that will destroy its foundations? No, I don't. I can't. They've done it to themselves. Do I care if they take modern feminism with them? Not at all. Because modern feminism should use all those skills they didn't get in the academic echo chamber they spent years in learning patriarchy theory to look critically at both sides of the coin. Meritocracies tend to not have clear leadership, and when they do, it tends to be rather fluid and filled with very ambitious people. You three girls on the other side of Gamergate tried to subvert that process with raw ambition and threat narrative, and unwittingly became part of that meritocracy. Two of you have been judged based on past works and have been nearly dismissed as a result. The only thing keeping the one relevant in any way is the connection to the mainstream media, which is still playing the shark in waters where someone dumped a cargo ship's worth of bloody meat. The last has no merits within the system, but is happy to insert herself into the conversation by any means necessary. She lords from on high in the same way Gawker does, and to the same ends. The people that are taking her videos apart are doing what would be expected in a meritocracy, and that's opening up the pretty box and looking to see what the nuts and bolts look like. A well-crafted argument looked at with a properly jaundiced eye will stand on its own merits. Those videos, which I intend to start taking apart here soon, are sensationalist trash, made by a half-assed social engineer and a mouthpiece that has stated in public that they don't even like games. I love games, I love what they've been before, and what they're slowly becoming on their own. The industry was evolving rather nicely on its own in the direction that the last has been demanding for decades, only to have that evolution forever corrupted by the narrative forwarded by that last little girl and her pusillanimous coward of a boyfriend. They created the atmosphere in which Gawker Media could make an entirely new fortune employing the same sort of creature in the likes of Patricia Hernandez and Lee Alexander. They let failed game developers run riot, and gave rise to things like Gamergate. Now they wail and gnash their teeth when their bastard children turn on them, followed by an immediate offensive to cow voices tired of the abuse. King of Paul and Internet Aristocrat have been bullied out of the revolt, with at least the former being abused to the point where his health was put at risk. The reasons for the other pulling back I don't have to hand, but I suspect that there's something at least similar at play. We don't know, and won't, because whatever their reasons, I suspect strongly that whatever credible threats were put forward were properly reported to the authorities. In the case of Internet Aristocrat, it's my expectation that once the reasons have been dealt with, he will return, stronger and more smart-assed than ever. We here have a lot of respect for Jim, and we wish him the best. As for King of Paul, I hope your health improves soon. You will be sorely missed. If the day comes again when you can return, I hope that you will. Until that day, you are in our thoughts, and we offer best wishes for a speedy recovery. Milo and David Pac-Man, I don't always agree with your stances, but you are the sort of people we need right now, neutral voices in a world that has dire need of critical thought and a touch of sanity. Please, for the love of whatever you believe in, stay the course. For the rest of you, keep emailing, and please let half-chan fucking die. Just let it go. It has been properly murdered by its own leader, and just hasn't worked out that it's dead. It's just grist for the mill, and should be treated as such. I had another topic for this video, but the content of that bit was so different from this one that I feel it really deserves a video of its own. So, that's what I'm going to do. Before I make that video, I'd like to extend an invitation to Jordan Owen and Gail Dines to answer a few questions for me, so I have a bit more background on which to relate this particular story and my opinions thereon. I will also be contacting a couple of other privately to see if they would like to provide some input. Next week's takedown video will be an older related video that I feel I need to address, before I get to tropes versus women in video games. As promised, I will get into the BioShock Infinite review in the next couple of days, followed immediately by Alien Isolation. After that, it will likely be Transistor, in accordance with our ethics and gifts policy. That policy reads as follows: if you provide a game you want a review for, then you get a review of it, regardless of source or intent, assuming that I have the hardware to play it. I will be assembling an Amazon wishlist specifically for the purpose of relaying what hardware I don't currently have access to in the near future. If it's on that list, I don't have it to hand, and therefore can't do reviews for it until that's rectified. There will be additional bits listed that will make our jobs a lot easier. If you wish to be credited for sending whatever along, then please include a note saying so. Otherwise, we will keep the names on file on the off chance that they might be necessary for any subsequent investigation, but otherwise will be considered anonymous. We will not be accepting deals that require us to censor ourselves in any way. If we think your game /hardware /whatever is shit or needs improvement, we will say so. We will also leave public the list of people that donate to our Patreon, and will not be financially supporting people that could potentially be on the receiving end of a review. Similarly, I will not be reviewing any of Kage's games, because I know him personally, I love his little boys to bits, and I'm friends with his wife. I will leave those to people without that level of bias. Lacey has stated that she may make promotional videos for those games, but they will be going on the Polymorphic Games channel, and this channel will be staying out of it. At some point in the near future, this channel will be getting a name change and an updated look, while Kage opens a third channel under his name for the purposes of video logs and such. We are moving in the direction of the 500 subscriber mark, and I'd like to see that number hit 1,000 by the end of the year. To do that, we've stated what our ethical boundaries are, in that we very much subscribe to the Total Biscuit model, and as a result, we are going to make some changes to reflect the nature of the beast. If you like what we are doing, or just want to keep an eye on what the enemy is up to, then please rate, subscribe, and comment to your little heart's content. We will not censor except in extreme circumstances, or in an attempt to eliminate advertising content from the comments box. Feel free to discuss whatever it is that comes to mind, but we would like to ask that you keep it civil and on topic if at all possible. Try and have a good evening, and as always, thank you for watching.